Hey guys, Dave with Moniology. Hope everyone is having a great day. Today is Tuesday, October 10th, 2017, and I wanted to do an impromptu video here on crude oil. I saw a very interesting post by Peter Brandt, who's a kind of a mentor of mine, someone who's very respected in the technical investments in charting analysis. He's literally a legend, and he sent out a post today, which I'll point to, that basically spoke to how the next big crude oil move is going to be down. Now, Peter is someone who's exceptionally humble and recognizes that his perspectives are often wrong. Any good trader will tell you they're going to be wrong more likely than not about 50 to 60% of the time. It's a question of when you're wrong, cut your losses, and when you're right, make sure you ride out those gains. And he's a very successful investor over 30-40 years. So his perspective is that we are kind of completing a head and shoulders, and that likely the next move is down in crude oil. Our perspective has been one that we initially said when we were in the 50s earlier this year that we'd probably fall to the low 40s, possibly into the 30s, and then we saw a shift in our charting perspective, and that suggested that we are likely moving higher, and now we are of the belief that we are moving much higher in the coming months and years ahead, and so we disagree with this perspective respectfully, and now we want to show you why, and we welcome your comments in the YouTube channel or elsewhere, and if we're wrong, we'll be the first ones to admit it. But here's our perspective why. So first of all, this is the oil ETF, which directly tracks crude oil, and it's up to date. And what we're seeing here is so far this week we're at 4.33%, and it's no surprise because we closed last week right at the middle Bollinger Band on a weekly basis, and now we're rallying hard, and our perspective is we're going to make a run towards that $8 to $10 range at some point this year, which translates to about $60 on the crude price. So anyway, we think that this has been consolidating. Notice that we've been basing basically for 2 years in a trading range, but at the same time something happened in between June and July where the price has more or less been flat, but momentum is rising, and now it's above the 50 on the weekly RSI, and that's a very positive development. It continues to build that. So taking a look at the crude oil contract on a monthly basis. Now this is not updated for today. We closed the day above 51, and this shows it's still at 49.29. But bottom line is, what do we see? We see an inverse head and shoulders here being created, and if this breaks above the neckline around 55, that would serve as confirmation that we're going to make a run towards 70, possibly 80 in the next 12 months. Now we're still below 50 on the monthly RSI, but after today's move, we think that we're very close to that 50 line, and if that breaks to the upside, that will confirm the uptrend. Now Peter does a lot of very classical technical patterns, but he does not use RSI and other momentum indicators, which we believe are absolutely crucial. So we'll see who's right, but that's just something I want to point out. Now, taking a look at the weekly time frame, here's another perspective. We broke out of this downtrend earlier this year, and now we're consolidating right above the middle Bollinger Band, and now we broke back above the 50 line as of today's close, and like we said, that 55 line is very important. We break above that, we have clear sailing to at least 62, 63. If we break below that line, then a move towards break below 45 would confirm that we are indeed wrong, and Peter is correct in his perspective. Bottom line is, stay humble, but now we want to look at why we so strongly believe in our thesis and our narrative. Well, looking at a lot of these energy ETFs, as we will in a moment, we'll show you why. And then we'll take a look at some of the individual names, just very quickly browsing through our watch list, and they look very compelling. There are a lot of great opportunities in the sector, and that's why we believe that we are correct, and Peter, as well as some other great traders, are wrong. So starting with the EXX.V, the energy sector ETF, Look at this. This is a classic cup and handle formation that we broke out of here, and now we're consolidating below the 70 line. MACDs are at basically 12-month highs. We are above, just below the 60 line on RSI, but we're above the 50 and the 200 EMAs on the weekly level, and there's absolutely no sign that when you look at the daily or hourly that this is about to reverse. So I don't quite see how you can have a negative perspective on crude oil, but could be wrong. I've been wrong before. XCS, the oil and gas equipment ETF. Here again, we're above the middle Bollinger Band. We're still weak in terms of relative to the XLE. We're below the 50 and the 200, so we've got some significant upside. But again, MACDs are at 12-month highs. Cash flows moving in a positive direction. Are we overbought a little bit, and can we pull back? Sure, towards that 50 middle Bollinger Band around 15, but longer term, and again, these are weekly charts, we think that we're moving higher, not lower. Oil and gas exploration XOP ETF, again, broke out of its downtrend. We're consolidating right below the 50 on the weekly EMA, and we believe we're moving higher. We believe we're going to test that 45 level at some point this year. Notice we're consolidating above the 50 line on the weekly RSI, which is a very positive development. Taking a look at oil services OIH, this one is on the verge of breaking out of this downtrend. We tested a break above the 50. We're slight below 50 on the weekly RSI, but again, if this line breaks, we have clear sailing to the 200 EMA about the 3150 level, and likely make a run towards the 3750 level. So some very nice upside in OIH as well. Taking a look at the small cap energy sector, PSCE. Here again, break out of a downtrend, retested it from the upside. Now we're running again above the middle Bollinger Band. A lot of strength. Look at the volume on the up move. The down moves are kind of lower volume, and so we like this. And again, we are consolidating above the weekly RSI, and further evidence that adds credence to our narrative that oil and energy are moving higher. Now, briefly running through the sector, I'll just point out some of the names that are piquing our interest. We've got AREX, which has been basing for 2 years, and it looks like it's consolidating here. It's still a little weak, so we're not touching that one necessarily. Atwood Oceanics is very positive, above the middle Bollinger Band. It's got momentum, it's got divergence, where RSI here is higher than when the price was at 1045 versus where we are today at 932. MACDs look strong. This is a name that can make a run towards 15. Baytex Energy is another one above the middle Bollinger Band, making a run towards 50. This one can really run towards $5 should oil break higher, and we think it will very soon. Next on the list is look at CBAK. It's not necessarily an oil and energy play, but this one here also is a very nice runner that it's had some nice basing pattern action for the last 12 months, and now it's finally broke higher. It's retesting this breakout line, but this is a very good opportunity as the 12-month, as the MACDs are at basically 3-year highs. Next on the list, Chesapeake doesn't look too good here. Wouldn't touch that. This Clean Diesel Technologies looks very good. We're bottoming here. We've got divergence on the RSI. We think that this is going to make a run towards at least 250, so some nice short-term upside, but if that breaks, $5 is the next logical long-term target. Clean Tech Solutions, this one is very beautiful price pattern. Why do we like it so much? Well, it broke out higher here in April on massive volume. We've consolidated down all the way to the breakout level, and now we had a massive move once again. But notice we moved back to the breakout level, but RSI was higher here than when we initially broke out, and it found support at that level, and no surprise that this is where the move picked up again. We think that this is going higher than $10, so for longer term traders, there's some substantial upside, and look, the MACDs have now crossed above zero line. Taking a look further at some names here, this one, Contango Oil and Gas MCF, is interesting. If this breaks above $5, we believe it will in the coming months. There is some very nice upside towards this lower upper trend line around $7. If that breaks, the first logical target is 10. Next on the list here, Devon Energy, this one looks great here at 36. This has upside towards 50. Taking a look at Eclipse Resources ECR, this has been basing for 2 years, and we think that this is headed towards 4. RSI is showing a lot of strength on the weekly. ESES, EcoStim Energy Solutions, this one is broken out of its downtrend, it's basing, and the next run is towards 2. Once that's taken out, it can explode higher towards $4. It's got a lot of positive developments in terms of money flow. Stochastics and MACDs are in a positive direction. EMES, Emerge Energy Services, another one that's bottoming here, made a massive run from 197 to 2445, back down to 565. It's above the middle Bollinger Band, it's consolidating. MACDs are now firmly above 0, and we think that this is going to break above $10 shortly and make a run back towards 20, so some significant upside potential. ERII, another one that broke out of its downtrend, above the 50 on the weekly RSI. It's consolidating here. This is going to make a massive run. Our first long-term target is really 13, followed by about 16. Next on the list here is ETE, another one that's it's kind of breaking out of this wedge here right now, and it's got some very nice long-term potential. We think a run towards 30 is definitely possible. ETP, not yet, but some very interesting developments if it can break out above that middle Bollinger Band. It has some upside potential. Let's see what else we have here. Equatorial Exploration is one that looks really good. It made this beautiful run from 3 cents to 13 cents. Now it's consolidated down, found support above the 5 cent line, and now it's making a move back up higher. We think that this is making a next run towards new highs, new 52-week highs. So for you that are very speculative investors, this is a great name to go long as the MACDs start curling. This is one that we'll be initiating a position in very shortly. EVEP Energy Partners is one that we believe has some very substantial upside in the short term. This is some very beautiful bottoming action. We rode this train from about the low 50s all the way to 70, got out. Now we're thinking about getting back in. Our first price target is about 130 here, so some very nice upside in the short term. What else do we have here? We've got Hornbeck. It looks great here. This is very, very positive chart here on the weekly. It's got this rounded base. It's above the middle Bollinger Band. If this breaks above $5, this is going to make a run towards 10. It's consolidating right below the 60 RSI line, which is very positive. Should that break, the MACDs are at 3-year highs, which is very positive. And another one, LPI, fantastic. Consolidating above the 50 on the weekly RSI, and this one has much higher potential as well. Legacy, one of our favorites on this list. It's a very volatile name, but it's found some very nice support around that $1 level. MACDs are firmly above 0. RSI is above 50. This is going to make a run towards 2 in very short order, but once it breaks 2, that's where the significant move will be likely towards making a run towards 4. So some very significant upside on Legacy. Let's see what else we have here. That's interesting. Marathon Oil, it's consolidating right below that 14 line. This is going to make a run towards the 50 or 200 EMA at some point this year, 1847. Noble Drilling, this one is interesting. It broke out of this downtrend, had a bullish wedge, retested it successfully from the upside here. Now it's above the middle Bollinger Band. It's retesting that. This is a very positive looking chart, and we think that this is going to make a massive run towards 750 should we break above $5. But our first target is 5, followed by 750. Noble Energy, same thing. It broke out of its downtrend. It's consolidating here. Look for a run towards that 40 to 45 level at some point in the next 12 months. Northern Oil and Gas. This is very interesting. This one, if this breaks above $1, this is going to make a massive short squeeze type of rally towards that $2 a share. So why do we like this? Well, it's got that very traditional breakout from downtrend, MACD's curling above 0 pattern that we like a lot. It's been extremely oversold, and now it can make that really very nice short covering rally here. Oasis looks good here. It's consolidating above that 40 after making a run towards the 50 RSI level. Still in a downtrend, but make sure you keep an eye out for what happens next, because it's above the middle Bollinger Band. MACDs are positive territory. It breaks above 10, it can make a very strong move towards that 16 level, which coincides with the 200 EMA. Some other ones on this list that are interesting: Peritium, TEUM. It's got a very nice bottoming pattern above the middle Bollinger Band, and we like this one for a move towards 250, eventually a run towards 5. PQ, PetroQuest Energy, is one that looks very, very good as well. Look for a breakout above 250 for a run towards 5. And some final names that we're going to look at here. Precision Drilling is another one that's starting to bottom out here, so keep this on your watch list. For us to go long, it needs to break above the middle Bollinger Band around $3 right now, but MACDs are above 0, and it looks interesting on shorter term time frames. RES looks fantastic. For us, this is a buy at any point with a stop loss right below 20, with 2050, which is the middle Bollinger Band. Seadrill is one that we are currently long now. We think that this is going to make a push towards 6250 and eventually potentially much higher should things go well with oil and its bankruptcy proceedings. Southwest Energy Partners looks like it's starting this new uptrend here, and a run towards $6 is definitely something that's possible. SGY, one of our favorites on this list. Keep an eye out for this one. If it breaks 30, it's going to make a run towards 62.50 as oil continues to improve. SYMX is a great looking chart. Broke out from this downtrend in August. We've had a very nice 100% rally. Now we're consolidating in this bullish flag type formation. Should this break out here, we've got RSI momentum divergence rather above the 40. We believe this is going to break higher and make a run towards 80 cents. This is one that we're definitely going to go long in the coming days. TK Corp looks great here. It's consolidating. Bullish flag pattern on RSI and price above the middle Bollinger Band. Looks like it's going to break above 10. And finally, TK Offshore, same type of pattern, right above the middle Bollinger Band right now. Our first price target is around $4. And Torchlight looks like it wants to break above the 50 on the weekly RSI. It's got some very nice support here. If it does break above the 50, expect this move to be explosive. First target $2, eventually much higher if it can do that. Valero speaks for itself. It's going much higher. These guys are doing fantastic work. Whiting Petroleum, another one that's bottoming out, broke out above that middle, that bullish wedge. Now we're above that $5 and above the middle Bollinger Band, and we think that this is going to make a run towards 10, so some significant upside here. WPX Energy, same thing, broke out above the 50 on that weekly RSI. Now it's consolidating, still above the middle Bollinger Band. This is going to make a run towards that 16 level. And finally on this list, Design Oil and Gas, great looking chart, beautiful pattern from $1 to 7, followed by a corrective move down here, finding support around the 240, 250 level. No surprise. Finding some stabilization right around that 50 weekly RSI, and we think that this is going to make a retest at the minimum of $7 down the next 12 months. Bottom line is, guys, we like the oil and energy sector here. We disagree with Peter respectfully, who is a legend, and we may be wrong, but if you do your due diligence, I think you'll find some very good opportunities. Please let us know what you think in the YouTube comment section, and thank you for your support. Please do subscribe and share our videos on YouTube, StockTwits, and on Twitter, and please do support us if you can on the Patreon campaign. We'll have a link in the show notes below. That's kind of like Kickstarter for artists. So if you like our work and you like our videos, you'd like to see more of them, and like to see a website and a community, then please do support our work. $10 a month will go a long way if we can get a couple hundred subscribers there. So thanks, guys, and wishing you a wonderful rest of the week.